Hi guys, it's me Haley Marie and welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing this Lydia Deetz Beetlejuice inspired makeup tutorial because I myself am strange and unusual. This makeup look is from the scene where Lydia is forced to marry Beetlejuice, and I kind of did a more dramatic version of that but tried to stay true to Lydia's look. So I hope you all are excited for this as much as I am. She's one of my favorite characters, my first female crush, and I just love her so much. Without further ado, let's get into it. So I already went ahead and did my foundation, concealer, and setting powder. I figured this was a self-explanatory step. I personally want a few shades lighter than my skin tone, so I'm like super pale in the face and down the neck, but you guys can do whatever you're comfortable with. For foundation, I used the Revlon Color Stay in the shade 150 Buff, so it's like really pale, but I don't believe this is their palest shade. I would recommend a neutral to cool undertone regardless of your skin tone if you're trying to look pale, because if you do a warmer it's gonna look more like tanned and you're trying to look as ghostly as possible. For concealer, I used the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer in the satin finish. I really love the camo concealers. And then to set my face, I used my Morphe translucent setting powder. I really love the setting powder, so that's what I used. I would recommend doing the concealer a couple shades lighter than the foundation you're using, and I recommend using a lighter shade foundation. Sorry if you hear a cat toy. That would be Hermione having a great time in the other room. Now it's time for brows, so I'm going to be using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow, and this is in the shade Dark Brown. First, I'm just going to take a spoolie and brush my brows upward on both sides. I'm also going to look at a reference picture of Lydia's brows, and while they are fairly natural, they are a little bit further out than my brows come. So I'm just going to drag this out longer than my natural brow. Now I'm going to start contouring my face, and Lydia has some really carved out cheekbones, so I'm going to go in with this e.l.f. contour in the color Forever Sunkissed, and I'm just going to carve out my cheekbones. I'm just kind of sweeping in a back and forth motion, so you should end up with something like this. She also doesn't really have any blush because her skin looks pretty deceased, even though she isn't. I'm also going to go in with a little bit of nose contour. Very lightly, I'm going to go down the bridge of my nose, the side of the bridge of my nose. Because I use such a pale foundation, you kind of lose the nose a bit. Just kind of getting the structure back to the face. I feel like contouring the nose also now matches with the cheekbones, and it kind of ties everything together. I'm going to go in with just a little bit of highlighter now, just to kind of like tie everything together and bring out the high points. So I'm going to be using ColourPop's Super Shock in Lunch Money, and it's just like a pearlescent yellow. So I'm just going to pop that on the tip of the nose. Down the bridge just in the center a little bit. And then right on the cheeks. So yeah, that's all for highlight, just a subtle glow. Now it's time for eyeshadow, and I'm going to be using the Jaclyn Hill palette today from Morphe. You guys know I love this palette so much. I feel like this is the perfect palette because it has like a lot of rusty red tones, and it's really one of the only palettes I have with these tones, which is why I'm using it. The first shade I'm gonna start off with is just this gorgeous transition shade right here called Silk Cream. As you can see, I'm using this just to create like a natural shadow to the eye. I went with a warm undertone for this instead of a cool undertone. Since we are going to be using reds, I think it's going to blend together a lot more nicely. It picks up that warmth of the red. So I'm just kind of bringing this outward and upward, and then we're going to kind of bring it underneath as well because she has some dark circles going on. So now we're just kind of making that base for her dark circles and bringing that around. Same on this side. Her eyes are very dramatic. Now that I'm looking quite dead, dark, and depressed, I'm gonna get a little bit more strange and unusual, and I'm going to use this right here, which is a rusty colored red. It's like a rust. I feel like it's more rust than red, but it picks up quite red on camera. I think that's the perfect color for this next step. So I'm just gonna pop that onto my brush and get to smoking out my eyes. So I'm gonna pop this on the lid all over, and then I'm just gonna start blending upward and outward. Really creating a dramatic red smoky eye. I'm also going to carry this underneath a little bit, but not as low, so just kind of amongst the lash line, but like a little bit lower. And then you're just going to kind of connect up. I think I'm also going to drag the red down a little bit over here. If I drag it down in the inner part of my eye, it's going to close my eyes, but if I do it on the outer part, it's going to open them a little bit more. Kind of like a butterfly, like wings is how I view it. So instead of doing a circle, I brought it up here. If I do a more circular look, it could end up looking droopy and closed. So we're going for that lifted, snatched look. I don't think I mentioned the shade name for that one. I'm sorry. That was the shade Hunts. So like ketchup. Next we're going in with Jazz, and it is a deeper rusty red. We're gonna start on the lid. And we're gonna blend this all over the lid. And now we're going to start blending it just a little bit outward. Just so slightly with what's left on the brush. And again, same on the lower. Just closer to the lash line. Bringing it up and out. Very little on the bottom. Just like one little tap tap into the pan just to get that product on there. Now to finish off the eyeshadow portion of this look, I'm going to go in with this not quite black, almost black brown, and this is in the color Soda Pop, and we're going to start off by smoking out our lower lash line first. So we are just going to take a smaller brush, and the reason I'm not using black is because it's going to look too harsh against the red. We're going to take a flat brush and dip into that brown and pop that on the lid. And we're going to start smoking it out in a second, but we're just going to kind of pat, pat, pat to get the product there and start smoking it out. I'm going to go in with that dark red again and just kind of blend on the outer portion. Now that the shadows are pretty much done, you can go back in with those same shadows, darken up whatever reds you want to darken or your dark browns. Now I'm going to go in with the Charlotte Tilbury eyeliner, and this is the Classic Eye Powder Pencil in Classic Black, and I'm going to go just on my top and bottom lash line. No wing, just top and bottom lash line. For lashes, I'm going to be using the Ardell Wispies in 113. These are my current favorite lashes. I already have a pair ready and cut right here, so I'm going to go ahead and apply those to my eyes, and I'll be right back.